what we're gonna be doing right now is shooting into a video about how to use your social skills, how to date or create attraction, how to be socially savvy, even if you're a little bit more low energy or chill in your social interactions. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because for many years, people have watched me and they'll see me doing a seminar with 500 people in the room or 1,000 people in the room, or they'll see me out coaching people with clients live in some kind of public gathering. And in that room where I'm trying to keep hundreds of people stimulated, or when I have a bunch of clients with me, which I'm very grateful for people coming to see me, I really feel an onus on myself to make sure that everybody's having a great time, to make sure that everybody's being stimulated and entertained and feeling like their imagination is being stretched. So a big part of my personality is being very stimulating, very off the wall, a little bit goofy, a little bit eccentric, and I enjoy that. It's something that brings me great joy. I've made other videos about that. But at the same time, I also feel that a secondary unfortunate consequence of that is that if you're somebody who's very chill and is watching me rocking a crowd or rocking a bunch of clients when I'm out, you might think, I don't know if I can do this. So for that reason, because I might have alienated you if you feel a little bit like I can't be as wacky as that guy, what I want to do in this video is explain to you the ways that I can often use being very chill, very calm. If you have a yin and a yang, I could be very yin, calm, and chill. And I want to show you specifically how I can use that actually to create a lot of attraction between people, or to use it just in general social life, or even in public speaking, to where rather than it being a disadvantage, it actually becomes a very, very powerful strength. Go into this video by first going into an area where there's a lot of people. And the reason why I want to do that is because I actually want to start off by showing you the reason that a lot of people do use a higher energy to go out and meet people. Because I feel like before we go into the lower energy ways of going about it, at the same time, we should at least acknowledge why a lot of people use a higher energy. Now, the basic reason, which you can probably guess, I think it's not rocket science, is that people tend to gravitate towards higher energy. It's like, why do people watch, you know, a rock movie or something like that? Why do people, what's up guys? Why do people, you know, gravitate towards that? They gravitate towards energy, they gravitate towards positivity, things like that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Are you okay to be in the video, by the way?
I am like all above like meditation and like.
Epic.
I love it. Yes.
Okay, so when you see energy around you, have to go? Good night?
No, I'm trying to listen to your.
Okay, hug then. Good night. Good to meet you. You're okay to be in the video?
Because you're like.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice meeting you.
You too. Have fun.
Bye, guys.
See you later. See you.
Bye.
So that will tend to happen a lot when you have more energy, when there's more stimulus. People will gravitate towards those who have higher energy. It's just a known fact. Why do people watch a rock concert? Why do people watch all this crazy stuff on television? They do it for the very simple reason that people do gravitate towards stimulation. People are bored, they go towards stimulation. That's just a fact. Now, in addition to that, if you're gonna meet somebody and you would like to actually move them to a better location, let's say that you wanna get them to go somewhere kind of cool with you, somewhere better. Let's say that you want to maybe go on some cool little adventure somewhere, right? Well, if you want to invite them for an adventure, they'll tend to go where the energy is. You can see that when people come into an environment like this, what's going to happen is they're here in many ways for stimulation. Just a moment, brother. We got you. Yeah. So so you basically get the idea there, right? Is that people will gravitate towards that. So good to meet you. So why is it that we use high energy? Because in chaotic environments, it can tend to be effective. So again, I wanted to start the video with this. We're just downtown at a cool place in downtown right now. I wanted to begin with that just to make it, thank you, brother. Yeah, thank you, man, you too. I wanted to explain that, you know, if you see I have, you know, the big beard, maybe I have a colorful jacket, things like that. There's a purpose behind that. So if we don't acknowledge why it does work to have higher energy, then it's going to be a lot harder to come up with a way to explain why we don't necessarily need it, right? How could we go through an environment like that and come out on top, meeting people, having them want to meet us, but at the same time, not be super hyped. So I thought that we'd move from that crazy club environment right here to this beautiful, chill little place with trees and quiet and peace. Because in my personal experience, having talked to a lot of people about social dynamics, most people who are very chill, very calm, they have kind of a fantasy of coming to a place just like this and meeting somebody who they'd really connect with just by sitting here, and maybe that really amazing person would just walk by and they would just, I don't know, maybe they would drop something and it would sort of roll over to the person. And the person who would pick it up would say, "Oh, you dropped this?" And then somehow they would just get to talking. And as they get to talking, things would go from there and they would live happily ever after. That's oftentimes a fantasy that I see with people that are a little bit more calm and chill. So to me, if you're coming from that kind of place where you simply struggle with stimulation, that is a weakness. That is a weakness that you have to fix with strength. So if that's the case, I would urge you to fix it for your own good. You've got to get stronger. If you want to be calm and chill, it should be from a place and position of strength, not a position of fear or weakness. That being the case, as you can see in a chill environment like this, you're not going to be meeting a ton of people, okay? People are generally going to be out in high volume areas, and the chances of meeting somebody in a high volume area just went up by 1,000% or more. Probably, I mean, you're probably talking multiples of 1,000% to meet somebody who you'd want to meet in an environment where there's a lot of people. And that doesn't mean that you couldn't meet somebody in a place like this. I've done it many times in my life. But when I say many times in my life, I mean maybe a couple hundred times versus the tens of thousands, maybe even over 100,000 people that I've met in these environments where there's just a ton of people, okay? And the caliber of people who I meet in a public venue is going to be a lot higher in general than me waiting here to meet somebody who's going to meander by so that I can drop the soup can, it rolls over to them, and we get to talking. That being the case, like I said, if you're somebody who is simply afraid of stimulation, that is weakness. You've got to be coming from a position of strength. But if you're somebody who's chill from a position of strength, what does that mean? What would it mean to be chill and calm and have a more relaxed demeanor from a position of strength? Well, right off the bat, I've met thousands of people in my life just by being very calm. In fact, funny enough, it's not uncommon that I am very calm when I meet people. A lot of the time if I'm recording, I'll tend to hype up a little bit because I want the attention on me, not on the recording. But in my regular day-to-day life, when I'm going about my life, say that I go to the mall, let's say that I go out with my friends and I'm not teaching a program, it's pretty common that I just talk in a very normal way. Well, if I'm speaking in a normal way and I'm calm and I'm chill, but I'm doing so from what I kind of earlier alluded to as a position of strength, what does that mean? It means that I'm speaking from a place that you'd call congruence. What does congruence mean? Well, when somebody's meeting you, they're taking in your energy. They're getting a sense of what kind of energy that you have. And if you have very peaceful energy and you feel good inside your own body, people's mirror neurons are gonna get a sense of that. That's why when you're calm and you're chill, it's very frequent that you'll go up to people and they'll immediately have a great reaction to you. Funny enough, when we were just out here, different people were doing this to me or saying you have great energy. That happens most nights that you go out if you have great energy because people can feel your energy. When you've got great energy and you're calm and you're congruent, that is a position of strength to be meeting somebody from a calm space. And so what basically happens is that the driver of meeting somebody becomes the energy that they're getting from you. But also, here's another big one, it's the congruence because you're not acting weird. Most people in general, when they're meeting somebody, are gonna behave weird in some way. It's gonna be some kind of nervous tick. It's gonna be that joke that you tell where you need them to laugh at it. You'll say something like, "It's the wiggity wiggity." Well, now you're trying to be high energy, and what's happening? You're being a tryhard. You're being high energy to get approval. Maybe you watch a video from me being high energy and you think, I have to be like that, which is actually hurting you. So really that congruence, if you're just speaking, a lot of the time what drives it is the energy, but it's also the mistakes that you're not making. Look, imagine that you're hiring somebody and different prospective employees are coming in, and maybe one employee has a lot going for them, but they act weird in a couple different ways. Whereas another employee might have some stuff going for them, but they're not acting weird at all. Oftentimes you're gonna go with that employee who's not acting weird at all. So oftentimes what happens when you meet somebody from a chill space and you're doing it from a place of power is what you're doing is you're not acting weird or doing anything to set them off. I would challenge you to try talking to people just from a calm place where you don't try at all, including not trying not to try. So in other words, what you don't do is like, hey, what's up? I'm so chill. Don't do that. Just to be the way that you naturally feel. Go into your body, do a little exercise, for example. Say, hi, nice to meet you. Hey, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. Notice that the hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. That's try hard. But trying too hard. How about not trying hard enough? Hey, nice to meet you. What if I did this whole video going, hey, this is the chill video. Nice to meet you. That's not going to be good either. The best space to do this video from is just talking with what's natural in my body. So get used to feeling what's too much and what's too little, and try just staying in that normal zone, and don't say anything that you wouldn't naturally want to say. Like they say, be yourself. Go with just being yourself, talking to somebody, and feel the energy in your body, what feels the most natural. And what you'll find is when you don't make any mistakes, and when you generally feel peaceful in your body, that in and of itself can drive a social interaction to being escalated, whether that's social networking, whether that's making friends, whether that's dating, whatever it is, that can drive it home because of the fact that the person says, I want to meet somebody, this person seems cool, this person seems chill, I'm kind of bored, maybe I want to go hang out with them. I think that being chill, calm, and low energy can be one of the most powerful things that you'll ever use as far as meeting people. And to me, as long as we can quickly separate the wheat from the chaff of people that are being chill as a laziness excuse versus people that are chill from a position of power, as long as we can separate that, we're good to go, and we can really go deep on how to make it work for you. So that being the case, I'm gonna go under the assumption that you're somebody who's very strong. You're somebody who's not afraid to go out in public. You're somebody who doesn't have delusional fantasies about sitting in some empty cafe and people coming to you just because you're so deserving and narcissistic that that's gonna happen to you. That being the case, you're somebody who's strong. What are the exact things that you could do to use your chill personality to your advantage? Well, let me list a couple of them. The first one is the vacuum, and that is so powerful. Why is that? Most people, when they walk up to somebody and they talk to them, they want approval. They're looking at the person, they're thinking, I'm a bit nervous to go talk to them. Oh, this is gonna be a little bit crazy to go talk to them. I don't know about this. And then they work up the nerve to go talk to them, and they need to keep it going. Hi, what's up? Okay, so yeah, where are you going? Oh, cool, what's your name? Where are you from? Yeah, oh, I saw this crazy thing. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that I saw this crazy thing? That's not the way to do it, because you're filling up all the space. The person doesn't have to invest. Now, let me give a counterexample to that, because I do want to be specific here. There is a reason that people often do feel a pressure to fill up the space. There is good reason for it. Here's what it is. Usually when you're first talking to somebody, they're not going to invest back in you right away, in most cases. Let's acknowledge that. So the way that you go about it is you want to give little samples. And as you give these little samples, you're kind of increasing your value to them to the point where they're willing to invest, right? Think of it like you went to a farmer's market and somebody says to you, hey, buy this big steak, it's $40. Give me the money for the steak. You're like, I don't know. But say they've got this beautifully cooked little piece of steak and they say, hey, there's free steak, come on, free steak. Grab if you want, whatever you want, it's up to you. And you're like, okay, you eat it. You're like, man, that's really good. So you can have some more if you want. Yeah? Is that okay? Sure, here's a bit more steak. You eat it, you're like, wow, this is the best steak I've had all day. And then everybody else is just enjoying it. There's other people buying the steak. You suddenly realize that steak's really popular. And then you're like, how much is that steak again? Could I buy the steak? So that's the power of social intelligence, of giving first. Giving a little bit first, right? So in a social interaction where that's powerful is, don't do what most people do. Where are you from? What do you do? Give me the question. I got a question. Give me the question. Right, that's what most people look like. Like, for the average person out with somebody coming up to them, it feels like a golem is coming up to them trying to get the precious. It's very uncomfortable. The way that you get around that is, yes, you do want to contribute. You throw little things out, maybe a little imitation, a little joke, little quips, some energy, some playfulness, some fun, something that doesn't even require a response. They don't even have to respond. You just throw it out there a couple times. All of a sudden, they're kind of leaning into you. That's a beautiful thing. So, of course, there is a pressure to speak and to fill up some space. That's very rational. That does make sense. The question is, what is the space that you're doing that from? Are you doing it because it's like you're drowning and you're kind of pulling at logs? Or are you doing it because you're just kind of skiing down a nice slope? You're just kind of sailing. There's a very big difference. So The first thing here to understand in a vacuum, which I alluded to earlier, is being grounded in your own energy and giving a little bit, and you give a little bit in the interaction up until the point that that person would invest. As soon as that person's at the point where they would invest, now you can lay back a little bit. It's like if you're selling the steak, right? You give a little sample, they tried a bit, they're kind of skeptical. You give another little sample, they tried a bit, they're skeptical, but then all of a sudden they want it. They're like, how much? Now you can kind of lay back. You can maybe even turn a little bit, and they're like, hey, I like that steak, how much is it? That's the beautiful thing right there. So at that point, now you can lay back. Essentially what you're doing is you're offering value up until the point that they'd invest, and then you make a vacuum. Now, let's be specific here. What is a vacuum and how does it work? Well, imagine that you're talking to somebody and there's two different ways they could be taking it. One is, this person's just gonna keep entertaining me as long as I want. I don't have to do anything for this. I don't value this social communication because I don't have to do anything for it. We value that which we invest in. If we don't pay for something, if we don't invest in something or put an effort into getting it, we don't value it. Well, in social interaction, what does it mean when somebody's not actually making an effort to talk to you? It means they don't value you. And if they don't value you, then they don't care about your validation or approval. And if they don't want your validation or approval, what does that mean? It means that there's no tension between the two of you. There's no attraction or tension, whether that's in networking and they want to meet you, whether it's in dating, whether it's in friendship, the line has gone slack. So you want them to value it. So what you do is you do a vacuum where essentially you kind of just sit there and you chill. And what that does is if you do it at the right time, now they want to invest in talking to you. You've laid back and now suddenly they want to invest. That being the case, how do you do it? Simple. Here's the distinction. Here's how I'd put it to you. You talk to somebody, you go quiet, and it's about an energetic groundedness. Energetic groundedness is almost like an electric current. What it means is that you're not reaching. You're not energetically reaching. Hey, it's Owen. I'm making a video. Where's my awareness there? It's on you. My awareness is completely on you. Hey, okay, so we're gonna do the video on this. Do you like it? Do you like me? Where's my point of orientation? My point of orientation is on you, which means that you know that I need something from you, which means you don't care about my approval or validation, which means there's no tension between us in this video right now. But if I say, hey, it's Owen, I'm gonna share something with you right now, and the energy's moving from where I am down into my toes and back. Now I know that's weird, down in your toes. That's just a way of visualizing it. I'm just trying to give a practical tip on it. I don't say to myself, it's in my toes, okay? I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm just feeling it in my own body. I'm not looking to you to get approval. It's grounded. Likewise with a vacuum, if you're like, talk, like you're like, come on, talk back. They can feel that. But if you're doing it just from a position, hey, my name's Owen, and there's a pause, you're staying grounded in your own energy, and there's a clear expectation of reciprocation, that is gonna be very, very effective. That's how the vacuum works. Essentially, it's a combination of two things. Number one, if you've given enough to where they want to invest, and then number two, in recognizing that, laying back a little bit and letting them invest in you. Now, before I wrap this topic of the vacuum, there is one more cool little piece that I'll give. When you're really good at this, actually, you can scrap all that stuff that I said earlier. You can literally just go right in the vacuum. So you might have seen videos of me where I'll teach you how to interact with people without even talking at all. When you're really grounded, you can honestly just be like, and throw a little bit of energy out, and people will start cracking up and they'll start investing in you right away. And I actually learned this many years ago. I was teaching a client, and the client said, oh, everybody loves you, they're not gonna love me. And I said to him, no, look, I'll show you that not everybody likes me. So to try to make it where people wouldn't like me, I actually walked up and I didn't say anything. I just walked up and I was silent. Here's the funny part. By me being silent, more people actually like me. There was more people coming to talk to me just because I was being silent. And then I came back to him and he's like, see, even when you don't talk, everybody likes you. Well, what's going on there? Really what it was that in that moment, I was in a grounded sort of point of orientation in my mind. And people could feel that. That changes the energetic exchange. So like I said, if we want to be chill and we want to do so from a position of strength, it's very simple. First, we simply recognize when we want to offer a little bit of value, just offer it out at your own pace, make an impact, make it where they like the sample they're getting. But then from that point, lay back, create the vacuum, and get them to want to invest, which makes them value you more. And guess what? Now the chill thing becomes a strength. Take it even to a higher level, like I just alluded to. When you're really grounded, sometimes you could be so silent and mysterious, you barely need to say anything at all. Very, very powerful. And so now what you see is we can go back to that earlier situation that we were in, sitting in that big club area, all those people around me, and you're probably thinking, what chance do I have? What chance do I have to ever meet somebody if I can't bring the energy in that environment? And what I'm telling you is that very frequently, you can go out and be chill, just say a few things, get the person to invest, and lay back. Then as you're laying back, you get more and more grounded, and funny enough, what winds up happening, you can wind up running most of your evening of meeting people or daytime of meeting people, barely saying anything at all. That same weakness that you thought was a point against you actually becomes a position of strength. Okay, so I'm glad that we got this vacuum idea out on the table for you, and this idea that you can do less and actually make even more of an impact. But let's take it further than just making a quick vacuum. How about as far as running a group in a conversation? Well, I want you to think back to those old movies from 100 years ago. These are kind of these funny black and white comedy movies, might not have even had words, where the cowboy had these kind of, pretend guns, and he's going, kind of shooting at the ground, and then the other cowboy's dancing like this, trying to kind of dodge the gunshots, right? It could be in things like Looney Tunes or things like that. Well, when you're the person running the conversation, and you're kind of shooting at the ground metaphorically, like in Looney Tunes, you're the person who's running the show. You're the center of attention, and that feels great. It makes you the high status person in that environment. But the question you should ask yourself is there another way that you could actually be running that conversation inside of a group by doing a lot less? And my answer to you is absolutely. The flip side of being the person getting everyone to react to them by running the show and holding court is just to lay back and be the anchor of the conversation. Allow everybody to address you. So what begins to happen is that when you're the high status person in that environment, everybody starts trying to address you to get your approval. And you're kind of just laying back, kind of taking it in, and they're gauging your reactions. So imagine if somebody sees someone that they're really attracted to. They kind of walk up and they try to impress them, and they're in their head thinking about how to impress them, and they're being reactive, and they're chasing their validation and acceptance. You can get an entire group of people doing that to you just by laying back and getting people to address you. So that being the case, what we have here is a situation where we flip the paradigm directly on its head, and by laying back, that can be even more powerful than holding court. Now, in any social interaction, there's one person reacting more to the other person than that person is reacting to them. That's a rule, right? Who's reacting to who more? So as long as there's energy that's holding the interaction there, as long as there's some kind of energy holding it there, if you're reacting less, you're in the position of higher power, which means that you're the more attractive person. The meta frame, the underlying meaning of that interaction is they're chasing your approval because you're the higher value, more attractive person. Pretty cool, huh? But again, it depends on how you do it. Now, the question is, if that's the case, that you could just lay back, why don't you do that all the time? And the reason why is because in a social interaction, there's two components that are happening at the same time. One is oftentimes the entertainment, which is the glue, and the other is the underlying dynamic of who's reacting to who more. Isn't that interesting, right? So on one side, if you're being really entertaining, but you're reacting to them by entertaining, like you're entertaining to hold their attention, well, you're going to get attention, but it's not the kind of attention you want. That's not the kind of attention that you want. But on the other hand, if you're so focused on not giving away your power because you're going to be that silent, mysterious person, that might not also work, because now what happens is that there's nothing holding them there. So if you're really quiet, funny enough, you know what the easiest thing in the world is? Say that you have a buddy who goes out and meets people and brings them back, say to your house, and somebody else has brought people back to your house, and you're kind of just laying back, you're sitting there, and now all of a sudden you're that super cool person in the house that everybody's addressing, that's perfect because your buddy was entertaining, brought them to your house, and you got to lay back. Isn't that nice when that happens? I can't tell you how many situations I've had where a friend of mine will go out, meet two people, bring them over, and I wind up connecting so much more because I get to lay back. Ironically, the fact that they had to put in the work to entertain them, to bring them over to me, actually made them lose their power. So this is sort of a funny thing, isn't it? Because to get their attention, you might need to be entertaining, but then you also don't want to give away your power by skewing the metaframe where you're reacting more. It's sort of this weird soup. So that being the case, to be good at being chill and laying back and not using a lot of entertainment, you've got to be very good at being grounded, like I said earlier. You have to be able to kind of feed energy into that situation by laying back. And there's a couple different ways that can happen. One of it is that you've just got such great energy. So the few things that you do say, it comes out beautifully and people are just attracted to it like a moth to a flame. The other thing that you can do though, is that you can get a situation where they give you a little look and you kind of give them a little bit of energy and then you kind of pull it back. It's like going fishing. You can kind of give and kind of pull back. Give and pull back a little bit, and then they're like, and you kind of inch them towards you. They invest a little bit, you give a little bit, but now you make a vacuum, you lay back, and now they chase. So really, it depends on how you're doing this, but there is definitely ways of going about it. And I want to be clear here, there's many other ways that I haven't addressed here. But really, what I want you to take from this is simply this. You don't always have to be the person running the conversation. You don't have to be the person holding court. You can be the anchor of the conversation. So that being the case, as a simple exercise, try going out and meeting people and giving enough energy to where they want to engage with you, and then see if you can lay back and get them to start self-qualifying to you. Get them to start chasing your validation. Get them to want your approval by laying back and being the super chill person. And just do that as a simple little exercise. And I think it'll really blow your mind, because when you combine that with creating a vacuum, you're going to see a completely different side of social interaction that a lot of people find very attractive, lets you connect with all sorts of people, and really is an entirely different way of looking at this entire process. So in this video, I've thrown a lot of different ideas at you. And in any video that I do, I really hope that you just don't take everything I'm saying at face value. There's certain things that will resonate for me, or funny enough, thousands of clients who I've worked with in person, in real life, and in real life social settings, that still may not work for you. And for that reason, I'd encourage you to think for yourself. You've got to take that which works, discard that which does not, and create something truly your own. That's a Bruce Lee concept from the book Jeet Kune Do. Awesome book, by the way. On the flip side, though, try the things that scare you. If you hear something that I said and you think, oh, I couldn't just lay back and have people address me. Oh, the vacuum, ooh, scary stuff. If you're feeling that way, you know what? That could mean that those ideas are actually the specific ideas that would take you to the next level. So create something truly your own, but don't be afraid to test out new things and see the results before judging them. And on that note, I'm gonna leave you with one final idea. And this is gonna be an idea that, for most people watching this, may not resonate, but if you get the sense of what I'm talking about and you give it a chance, this could be a game changer for you, and here's what it is. It's a beautiful book, one of my favorites of all time, called Levels of Energy by Frederick Dodson. And in that book, he gives what's called the energetic scale. Now, you don't need to agree with the energetic scale. I don't just take it at face value, but I think it's a good mental exercise. And just thinking about that energetic scale, it's also a book, Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins, both great books. Love Frederick Dodson and David R. Hawkins. Basically what you have is, at the low end of the scale, you have depression, apathy, non-action, shame, and the key one there being depression. And the apathy that will come with that depression, right? Apathetic. And then on the flip side, what you can also have is, as you move up through the scale, you have enlightenment and peace. Well, what's in between those two things? Going from the bottom of apathy, you can have things like anger. You actually moved up when you're angry. You might have something like pride, laughter, peace, love, enlightenment. You see how that goes up? And I've seen this myself, where coming from a very apathetic, depressed state, when I was younger, maybe I'd listen to crazy rap music to get angry. And that would actually be me moving up a little bit. Likewise, as I moved up more, I had to force myself to start laughing. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Life's beautiful. You know, I'm just sitting here. I just try to look around. I try to take it in. Everywhere I go, I try to take it in. I try to take you on a journey here. Life is beautiful. And funny enough, most of the time you walk through life, you don't even take things in. You don't enjoy it. Part of my journey was I had to force myself to laugh. I would literally be sitting there just going, ha ha ha, and making myself laugh. I'd make myself laugh at any dumb joke because I was so much entrenched in sadness that for me to even learn how to laugh was hard. Now, as I've moved up and gone a little bit further, I've had a lot of different experiences. You can hear we're in Los Angeles right now. That's why there's helicopters everywhere. As I've moved up, I've had many different experiences. And one of those experiences that I've had is I've moved through things like meditation or going out and getting into a very powerful flow state, is that rather than using laughter and energy and being a little bit off the wall, sometimes I'll go into a state that is a lot like apathy, but completely different from apathy. In fact, it's the exact opposite because it looks apathetic that I'm not doing as much, but the energy is just brimming through my body. It's completely different. So there's a very different mindset of sitting there depressed on the couch and sitting there in a state of meditation on the couch. Completely and categorically different. Funny how that works, right? You can sit on the couch just bored and frustrated, or you can sit on the couch in a state of complete presence. As you move up the energetic scale, sometimes what can happen is that by being chill and not trying too hard, staying grounded in your own energy, letting it come to you, using your power, not force, right? Like the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawking. You're using your power. You're staying in a present state. You're staying peaceful. You're staying in the now. You're letting that present energy run through you. What you might find is you don't need to joke around as much. You don't need to do as much. And what happens is then, from that point, you've got to recognize, here's the key to it. You've got to recognize when you're in that state, and you've got to learn how to ride it, okay? In personal growth, we'll actually access different states, and we have to learn how to ride those states. Like, if I'm public speaking, and I can see I'm just in a zone, I shouldn't think about the zone I'm in. I just got to ride it. It's like you surf that wave of that energy. Likewise, when you're in a very present state, just in this beautiful, peaceful state, if you start trying too hard and too much, you can actually throw yourself out of it. But if you just ride it, you just let the wind move the sail. You just move the rudder a little bit. You still got to move the rudder. You got to do something. You move the rudder, and you just kind of go with the flow. It can actually start to get its own momentum. And what's funny is the things that you do in social interaction from that point are different than from a different state. If you're kind of in a funny state, you might kind of tease a little bit, kind of pull back, be playful. But from this state, you might actually do less. And when you feel that you're in this state, the way that you go about it would be different. From this state, you might do more vacuums, more little, just like a little dab of energy, just with the pupil, just the slightest little dilation in your pupil, and it goes out, and everyone's like, ah! And you're like, what? And they're like, you're so funny! And you've done almost nothing. Or you just look a little bit, and they say, you have great energy. They'll start praying to you and things like that because you're riding that energy. Recognize when you're in that energy. There's an entirely different way of going about it when you're in that energy. And this is why what you really want to do, in my experience, is recognize what kind of energy that you're in. And as you recognize that energy, there's a different way that you can go about social interaction, about dating, about attraction, about networking, social dynamics, and meeting people. There's a different way that you can go about it. In recognizing that, and in recognizing what is congruent to that peaceful state, you can access that through your day-to-day life, through your inner practices, through the way that you have built your lifestyle and the way that you carry yourself. You can access that, and you can feed off of it, and it can be a very, very beautiful thing. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there's a position of chillness from strength and a position of chillness from weakness. Weakness to me is apathy. I'm not going to go out and meet people. That's too chaotic for me. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a coffee shop person while meeting nobody, and it's just a big fat excuse. But when done properly from a position of power, that can be one of the most incredible aspects of social dynamics that you'll ever encounter. So that being the case, I do hope that you've really enjoyed what we've talked about here. And I hope that you'll try it out. Like I said, I think that this could be an entirely new dimension opening up for you, and that's why I want to sit here and share it here in downtown Los Angeles, late at night. Beautiful experience for me, and I want to thank you for letting me share this with you. I'm going to be back with so much more. We're going to go so much deeper. We got so much to learn. I'm so excited to share this knowledge for you, and the thing that makes me the happiest is when you share back with me that you've tried it out and given it a chance, really tested it, so you can become a better person, you can become your full self, and you can offer more value to the people around you and to the world. Anyway, wrapping up, I'm actually gonna go crash out pretty late, and I'll see you soon. Peace.